Alright, here's another video. I'm going to shut this off for a second. So I just wanted to showcase this setup right here because this is actually really cool. And I know most people don't have to go this low with logs. But I just wanted to show that this is like how thin you can cut the pieces. This is at the very bottom of this board. It's clamped. And let's see here. Yeah, so look at that. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not. Seven eighths. It's exactly 7/8. So this piece right here is also the same. Yeah, so that's really thin. Like, I had no idea that you could go this thin with it. And one thing that I figured out with cutting this really old, super dry oak is that I tried using it with a little bit of water, and all that did was dampen the wood, and it didn't help at all. So I've cut all of this dry, and it's been doing a perfect job. Cuts it perfectly straight, and so yeah, that's kind of like why I wanted to make this short video, because this stuff is really has a lot of knots in it, and it is probably like 5% moisture content. It is super dry. It's over 100 years old, and this is what will really test out your blades, just because of its hardness and the knots that are in it. And this one blade that I've been using, I've been going through a lot of lineal feet, and they're about 6-7 feet long, so there's about 55 of them maybe at this length with that saw blade. That's the Jerry's Resharp, the hardened teeth. So it's ripping right through this stuff like nothing. These are 4 inches wide, and there were a couple of pieces that were 5 inches wide. And you would think, you know, that you could stack up a whole bunch of these, you know, right next to each other or something like that. You can see the end of here, it got a little wavy because I was going really fast towards the end there. But the sides are going to get ripped off of these anyway, and run through a planer. But the clamps aren't substantial enough to clamp each piece of wood. You know, if there's 4 of them or something like that, the blade, the power of the saw head is more powerful than the clamping force on the clamp. So what was happening is I could see them very slightly wiggling back and forth and stuff like that, and so I just went back to cutting one at a time because it's faster, and the stuff comes out perfect that way. So this can cut through, I think I went through maybe 5 pieces, and at the thickness, at 12/4 thickness, or 4.5 inches, it definitely started working the blade. So that was kind of like, you know, it's the equivalent of cutting through the largest diameter log that I've cut on this thing so far. And it's a really tiny, little thin piece of wood. And I'll show you what those pieces look like, because this came from an old Dynamite shed, I guess. And, you know, these pieces are pretty heavy duty. They're about 10 inches wide, some of them, and so I've been going through all of these, and there is a little bit of road dust and slight dirt and stuff like that that are on these pieces, so I've had to like sweep them off. But I don't really see many videos of people making resawing reclaimed lumber and stuff like that with these bandsaws, so probably not going to do this again, just because of the extensive work it takes to prepare these pieces of wood. They had staples in them, some had nails that were embedded in the wood and the wood kind of squeezed over it, and you can't see them. So there's staples and all kinds of crap in here, and I was pretty good about not hitting any of them. But all it takes is one. You know, I hit a nail that was inside one of the pieces, and I saw sparks come out of the other end, killed the entire blade. In like 1 second, it killed it. Every single tooth was rounded over and bent. So I just wanted to stress that it's definitely beneficial to use a magnet. I have a metal detector, and even still it didn't pick up some of the stuff. So, but the big nails and stuff like that, you know, that's what will absolutely kill this blade instantly. It doesn't matter if they're hardened teeth or whatever. The nails that they're using back then were extremely strong steel to cut through. You know, they're like cut nails that you use to nail boards into the concrete. You know, it's serious steel. But anyway, so after this project, I'm doing this for a friend of mine, and he didn't have any other way to do this, and so I offered to help him with it. But I just wanted to show that that's what's possible with this mill. I had no idea that it would go down that thin. I mean, it's just about down. These stops right here are all the way down to as far as they'll go, and this clamp, as you can see, is just barely biting onto that edge there, and it was just enough to go over the top of everything without hitting it. So that's the minimum right there. So if you guys haven't seen it, now you've seen it. And that's about it. I think I covered most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. And the other thing is that this creates a lot of dust, like ultra fine dust, because you're resawing it, you're ripping it. So the dust is really ultra fine, and it's getting into stuff. So that's one thing that I'm not really into, and that's probably why I'm not going to do this again if somebody asks me, because it's ultra fine, like powdered dust, because the wood is so old and it's so dry, and it's sucking it into the intakes and clogging the filters and all that stuff. So that's about it. I'll make another video later. Have a good one.